Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to WBAI's debate series for the 2021 Local Board Delegate Elections, where you will hear from various listener candidates. I am Kate Doran, election specialist at the League of Women Voters of the City of New York, and I'm your moderator for this program. The topics to be discussed cover key issues facing WBAI and the Pacifica Foundation. Questions were also submitted directly by WBAI members. Please note that all viewpoints presented are those of the participants and do not reflect the position of the Pacifica Foundation or WBAI. The program will start with opening statements, followed by a debate covering topics selected from a predetermined list and ending with questions from listener members. The order of candidates and topics has been selected by using a random sequence generator from random.org. This hour, we are joined by Geoff Munroe, Nicodemus Nicoludis, M.K. Williams, Claudette Robertson, and Hazel Pinder. Please correct my pronunciation of your names if I've made an error there. I'm sensitive to that, and I'll be happy to make the correction. So before starting the actual debate, each candidate has 1 minute to make an opening statement, and candidates will hear a bell when their time is up. Geoff Munroe, you are the first to make an opening statement, so please unmute yourself.
Greetings, good evening. My name is Geoff Munroe, also known as Bunupti Coming Through. I've been a listener at WBAI for about 25 years. I'd like to make sure that my candidacy to the local station board includes a wider appeal to its listener base outside of the 5 boroughs, as important as the 5 boroughs are. I live in Mount Vernon, organized in Mount Vernon, Lower Westchester County, and I want to be sure that we're listening to all of our members and listener audience outside of New York City, especially in Westchester, Long Island, New Jersey, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Nicodemus Nicoludis. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you. Did perfectly with the name. My name is Nick Nicoludis. I am an adjunct at CUNY, a PSC CUNY union member and rank and file organizer, a member of the Red Wave Collective and of the Democratic Socialists of America. And I'm running for this seat on the local station board because I believe in public radio, and I believe that it can be and is the heart of every community. And I believe in WBAI's mission and want to help reshape the future of the station, not just financially, but to help it become a more community-focused outlet for people to express concerns that are particular. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from M.K. Williams. 1 minute you have.
Hi, I usually go by Kay Williams. I've been a loyal listener supporter of WBAI since 1972. I'm a member of the Indie Caucus, Independent Caucus. In the 1980s, I chaired a WBAI listeners group called the Free Speech Radio Alliance. Among other things, we fought censorship at the station, and we also got the local board opened up to the public again. I want BAI, most of all, to continue as WBAI. I want producers to continue to produce their programs free of censorship and also within the guidelines which are well provided by the Pacifica mission statement. I want BAI to grow its listenership and solve its financial problems. We have a lot of problems, and I believe that working together, we can solve them. In order to do that, we may need to tolerate each other's differences a little more. Long live BAI.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Claudette Robertson. Please unmute yourself and you have 1 minute. Claudette Robertson, are you with us? I'm told that we do not see her, so we're going to move on to Hazel Pinder.
Hello to my fellow WBAI listeners, members, and staff. This is Hazel Pinder, a retired school teacher who often incorporated BAI programming in lessons. My students were fascinated with the compelling content, and they encouraged their parents to listen to shows such as Talk Back, Law and Disorder, and Democracy Now! I'm proud to have played a part in the development of Minefields, which can be heard on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. I advocated and voted no in the bylaws referendum because it's important that members have a voice in our station. I'm also a member of the Committee of Inclusion, which reviews station diversity. You can reach me at justiceandunity.org, and let's gift a strong BAI to the next generation.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the body of the debate. The format consists of assigning one topic to one candidate as determined by the initial random sequence and allowing that candidate 2 minutes to develop an answer. All other candidates following the order defined by the initial random sequence get 30 seconds each to comment. This structure iterates through all candidates until all have had the opportunity to address a topic in depth. All right. Geoff, the first topic is to you. What is your understanding of how programming decisions, for example, removal of programs, addition of new programs, schedule modifications, and more, are currently made at WBAI? And what do you think is the most important criteria to take into account when evaluating programs? How should listener members be involved in programming evaluation? So you have 2 minutes, Geoff, so if you would unmute yourself.
Thank you. My understanding of how the current decisions are made seem to be mostly, now to fully answer the question, I believe the decisions on programming are made largely based on how revenue is generated through fund drives. And the listenership or membership, more appropriately, responds to fund drives, and whether fund drive revenues are very responsive to particular producers or talent seems to be the most likely successful predictor of any program schedule, it seems. Station decisions, management decisions to pull or modify programming schedule seems to be mostly hinged on who brings in the most or least money. Unfortunately, I think that's not sustainable. I think many of the communities in this area are communities, especially communities of color, communities that have been largely taken out of or pushed out of economic models of self-sustenance. And while they're mostly dependent on WBAI for truthful and sustainable information to serve their best interests, they are paradoxically unable to be most financially or fiscally sound. So the actual model to depend on our most needy communities for fiscal membership or fund drives response, I believe needs to be looked at more carefully in terms of how the station relates to its audience. How the management properly responds to audience programming, I think, is something that requires a little more democratic practice on the station's part. I think our station board could be a little more diligent in the way that our bylaws instruct us to be in evaluating our management programming and management programming to be actually responsive to the needs of the listenership. I think if the listenership were more well addressed in the needs of their daily lives, I think would have better responses. I think people would be more self-sacrificial in whatever way they could be when they make decisions to donate freely or become members on a sustaining basis. I think that's what we need to be doing more at WBAI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Nick, you have 30 seconds. Please unmute yourself for your comments.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, and I really I agree with a lot of what Geoff said there. I think that what's really, really important is that we institute and democratize the decision-making around programming. Of course, financial concerns are always important, but that can't be the end-all be-all when it comes to decisions about what is on air. There has to be a democratic input from communities who we're trying to reach, whether that means
Thank you. Next, we will have 30 seconds from Kay. Please unmute yourself.
I don't think financial should be the only criteria. I think it's one of the criteria. If there's a worthy program that meets, is well documented, meets Pacifica guidelines for its mission, which includes hearing from voices that are not usually heard, then I don't think such a program should be pulled. I think maybe if it's not pulling in listeners, then the time, you might play around with the time so that the program can find its listeners. But I think that it's complicated.
Thank you. Next, Claudette, please unmute yourself. You have 30 seconds. All right. We'll move on to Hazel. You have 30 seconds, Hazel.
Hi, our listener members can become involved. I agree with the other candidates said, by the way, by sending their ideas and suggestions for new or existing shows to Linda Perry Barr. They can also reach out to their favorite producers with interesting topics they'd like to see covered by their favorite producers. So that's one way they can become involved. And I agree with the others where it shouldn't be financial with who brings in the most money. Their show gets more airtime than the other shows.
Thank you. Thank you, Hazel. All right, the next topic goes to Nicodemus, also known as Nick. What is your vision for the future of WBAI and Pacifica as a whole? What types of changes do you see necessary for WBAI and Pacifica to continue in the near future? Please unmute yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Great, thank you. And I think that this is a really important question coming from the history of the last several years of where WBAI has been financially. And I think that there is a bright future ahead if we do a couple things. And those things to me are, like I've said previously, are really building a robust democratic system for programming issues, as well as trying to find a way to localize our content. We live in greatest city in the world, and we have such amazing talent here. And I think we can do a lot by trying to really integrate ourselves within the community, bringing in community activists, artists, writers, musicians, DJs, and really trying to build a robust network of support in the city that can lead to a sustaining future that isn't reliant on fund money, corporate money, grants money, and really build a sustaining base of listeners, which can keep us going through the times that we need it the most, as well partnering with local people to build more robust listener funding packages, creating a situation where there's intense and robust and enthusiastic buy-in from the local community to really sustain us, like I said, into the future and democratize the way that things are done, whether that means, more people into meetings. Someone in the last block talked about having more announcements on the station about inner workings of the radio station, holding more information sessions. And really, I think, like I said, the community that we're in is so diverse and important and robust that I think looking towards that for a sustained future is really important.
Thank you. Thank you. Kay, please unmute yourself. You have 30 seconds to comment on this question. Kay, would you unmute yourself, please? You have 30 seconds. You're up now. Nope, you're still muted, Kay. We can't hear you. Unmute. Unmute.
Okay. Could you refresh my memory what the question was? I was fussing with my new iPad for a minute.
Whoa, I'm not sure how much I can say because the meat of it was your fellow candidate's response, but it's on the vision of the future for WBAI and Pacifica.
Oh, okay. I think we can combine fundraising and expanding listenership into the same campaign. We can plan our fundraisers in a way that we publicize them in order to bring in new listeners, and this might require some brainstorming and creative thinking and getting together with people who know the communities in New York the best. So that's what I think my expertise with community group fundraising would best lend itself to.
Thank you. Hazel, please unmute yourself. You have 30 seconds to comment.
I believe that a negotiated partnership that's agreed to by both parties is something that should be explored. I believe we need to dramatically reduce on-air fundraising and come up with a business model that promotes our wonderful programs and our producers. We need to promote off-air fundraising. I used to be come to a lot of programs, fundraisers that were on the pier or at bookstores, book signings, social gatherings. It was so much fun.
Thank you. Geoff, please unmute yourself. You have 30 seconds now. Geoff? You have 30 seconds, Geoff.
I'm sorry.
No.
Can you hear me? So I believe that we have to maximize other technologies, including video and internet-enabled technologies, to better connect with our community that's more internet-based. Podcast creation, podcast streaming, and I think archival or direct media aspects of technology will better connect us to not just younger audiences, but also audiences that are not necessarily connected as schedules may allow them to be in a car when they might listen to radios, or maybe they're home. I think that's what we should consider. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, we're moving on now. Kay, this is your topic. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the existing models of fundraising at WBAI and Pacifica? Please propose alternative fundraising ideas and models. Think about the strategy and the timeline for the implementation of your alternatives. So please now unmute yourself, and you have 2 minutes to respond to that question.
Well, I know there's a proposal to move to 52 weeks a year fundraising and away from so many fundraising drives where people actually tune out, when they know it's just a fundraising drive. I would need to hear more about that proposal in order to find out whether that's how feasible that is, but it might be an opportunity. I've already said I do agree with off-air fundraisers. I know there used to be WBAI craft shows. There used to be, we can, I think, pull in some celebrities to help us publicize some of these events that would actually bring in more people. And this all has to be, this is going to require work, and it requires probably a very diverse committee to plan it. And that's what I think the direction I think we need to go, both for the life of BAI as well as to fundraise.
Thank you. Thank you. Hazel, please unmute yourself. You have 30 seconds to respond and comment.
One weakness is that we need more buddies to sign up. Another weakness is we use the same premiums over and over again. We need to come up with new premiums that are interesting. Maybe producers can work with other producers to combine their shows and come up with special programming to build up our listenership. I support BAI by purchasing books, DVDs, CDs, and other premiums. But we do need other methods of fundraising.
Thank you. Geoff, you're up next. Unmute, please. You have 30 seconds.
Right now, I believe probably our point of weakest, I think, service to our community is the inability to really reach out and get feedback. The minimum two town hall a year suggestions in our bylaws seem not even to be heeded at all. Having monthly meetings by Zoom, and I understand COVID-related issues notwithstanding, seem to have been just used as excuses to stay away from our audience. And I think that needs to end.
Thank you. Thank you. Nick, please unmute. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I like a lot of the suggestions that have been said so far, especially ideas of thinking of ways outside of traditional fundraising models, you know, events that can be put on with local talents or talent taken from WBAI, as well as alternative kinds of fundraising models, such as different kinds of packages, people being able to choose amongst the different kinds of packages, pairing them with something that they're interested in.
Thank you. Thank you. The final question goes to you, Hazel. In your opinion, what is the most important role or responsibility that the local station board has? And how should roles or responsibilities be modified to improve the function of the local station board? Please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
The most important role you said for the local station board member? Well, my job is to the people. We're responsible to the members. We are their voice. We are their representative. And I think that's the most important job as a listener candidate and member. We are responsible to our membership. We like them to give us their ideas, and both good and bad, about how we're doing, how the station is being run, and they can, reach me with their comments at justiceandunity.org. I'm also a member of the Committee of Inclusion, as I said before. I was also part of Fight Back, where I made phone calls and spoke to listeners, and a lot of listeners complained about their shows being changed, preempted for fundraising. A lot of them complained about the same premiums all the time, or that they gave particular attention to certain shows and not to other shows. So I believe the most important job is to be accountable to the member listenership. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. Geoff, please unmute. You have 30 seconds to comment and respond.
I think we could. I'm sorry. Could you clarify the question again, please?
The question concerns the roles, what you believe to be the most important role or responsibility of the local station board, and how would you modify that, perhaps?
Thank you. I think in terms of oversight and managerial evaluation, which our board charter seems to be very clear on, is where we could do a lot better. Regular feedback and regular instruction to our management and programming management, general management and programming management could be a lot more reflective of our community's needs. And of course, that would come from the LSB's actual interaction with our audience, which would be more, I think, more present. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick, you have 30 seconds. If you would unmute and respond.
I think an important aspect of being on the board is to be a reflection of the listeners, and really trying to reflect their values and their desires from the station, and as well working to secure the financial and programming future of the station. So it's an incredibly important job with many different kind of ins and outs, but at the end of the day, it's about making sure that we are a voice of the listeners and keeping it in their control.
Thank you. Kay, you have 30 seconds to comment and respond.
Okay, in general, I would say I think the producer should be responsible for the creative aspect, and the local board should be responsible for almost everything behind the scenes. So that includes fundraising, it includes oversight, it includes regulatory, it includes getting us back with CPB funding. Those are big tasks and sometimes not so rewarding, or fun tasks. But I think those are the things that the local board really needs to take care of.
Thank you. Now we come to the portion of the program where listeners can call in. The number is 212-209-2877, and they can put questions to you candidates. Each caller will have 30 seconds, and each candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. And we will take as many questions as the time permits. So let's see, do we have any callers? If we do not, I have questions that were submitted over the past week by listeners, which I can put to you candidates. No callers? All right. So the first question is, WBAI needs to make a great many changes going forward if it is to survive. Which areas should be priorities? Possibilities include technology, training, outreach, fundraising. We'll start with you, Geoff. You have 30 seconds.
Well, I've said already that I do believe our internet-enabled technology should be put more heavily into play. I think video platforms should be included on our website. I think current platforms that are already on terrestrial radio should be put into, if they want to, put into play in the field so that video content could be added to their on-air content. I think that would make us more appealing.
All right. Nick, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, changes. I agree with that. I think, bringing in more technology, podcasts are really, a way a lot of people listen to news and get their information. So I think trying to figure out a way to, get the content of WBAI into that kind of space would be really important, and get people to listen to those shows and kind of get the, as a pipeline towards listening to the actual station.
Thank you. Kay, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I'm just going to ditto all of the above. I think there's some really good suggestions here, and we just need to work harder to actually do the work, to get together and do the work.
All right. Hazel, unmute, please.
Okay, I think I'm can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I believe that BAI should develop creative off-air fundraising, such as maybe a monthly teaching session where we could feature an invited guest and we could discuss current event topics, or maybe we could have a bi-monthly documentary movie showing as a premium. We could even hold events where authors could discuss their latest books. So this would be a welcome change from the, monotonous food drives. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Another question that was submitted over the past week by a listener is, what is your opinion of the proposed asset sale, mostly of WBAI, that some members of Pacifica proposed? Which assets would you support or oppose monetizing? So Kay, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I have opposed these proposals every time they're proposed. I don't know why they keep popping up. It's kind of like a whack-a-mole game. I think if we cannot have one station within Pacifica cannibalize another station to survive. We all need to survive. We need to get Pacifica's message out nationwide. And I don't think we should be talking about selling off any stations at all.
I'm hearing from the team behind the scenes that we have 4 callers, but I would like to be able to be fair here and give the other 3 candidates an opportunity. So if you could just be very quick, maybe under 30 seconds, the question of the asset sales. So you're next, Hazel.
No asset sales. We will never sell BAI or any of the other stations. It's out of the question. Absolutely not. We will do whatever we can. I will do whatever I can, to keep the station alive and the other stations. No sale of any of our stations.
Thank you. Geoff, in under 30 seconds, please.
Yes, I'm opposed to any asset sales right now. I don't believe any of our infrastructure should be compromised, especially in that we haven't really exercised the flexibility to look at other ways of revenue generation. I think asset sales or any kind of compromise on the current infrastructure is a really dangerous option, considering that we really haven't looked at better modalities for getting in revenue. So
thank you, Geoff. Nick, could you respond quickly, because we have callers waiting?
Yeah, just to get to the callers, I agree. We're not selling anything. If I'm on the board, I will work every single day to not sell anything.
Thank you. Okay, so we could have hear from our first caller then.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope the candidates can.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, I just had a quick question. So that Spanish show that usually comes on the 3 isn't going to be on today? With the cool Spanish guy?
I'm sorry.
4:30.
Oh, he's coming on at 4:30?
Okay, we got a quick answer to that one.
And everything on BAI has always been very cool, but I'd like to hear more like 70s funk stuff like Bootsy Collins and George Clinton. Thanks a lot. Your station's great. Thank you.
Okay, let's have our next caller then, please.
Am I next?
My
name is Rosalind.
Thank you, Rosalind.
I'm calling because one of the things, if you talk about assets and deliveries, I am waiting since March to get a premium that I ordered from Gary Knowles. I've called about 5 or 6 times, or maybe more, since my check was cashed in March of this year. I still have not received my merchandise, my premium, whatever you call it. But that's one of the things that's disillusioning. Please check and see what happened to my order.
Okay. I think we should hear from the candidates how they would handle this sort of thing. Let's start with you, Nick.
Yeah, if I were currently on the board, which I'm not, I'm running for the first time, I would be calling you right after I was done with this to see how we can get you that thing that you paid for.
Okay. Geoff?
Yeah, I've had my own experience with premiums or merchandise not being delivered, and I think better systemic solutions to listener connections, especially follow up after fundraising, would solve or mitigate this kind of problem. I think we would definitely do better at having individuals assigned to following up with listenership and or anyone who fundraises or helps to fundraise and expects delivery. So constant communication, I think, would be better here.
Thank you. Hazel?
Yes, I've talked to several members about this problem. You know, when I talk to people in the street about BAI, they always mention not receiving their premium. It is a big problem. I know they're working on it at the station. There's someone who volunteers and comes in. Unfortunately, it's only one person. We've had to cut our staff by 60%, you know, due to that takeover in October of 2019. So we're working on it. I know it does take some time. Be patient and contact Bertold Reimers, the general manager.
Thank you. Kay, the premium question.
Well, I think maybe that should be another working committee on the local board, is to supervise who's supervising premiums, including sometimes maybe producers offer premiums and they don't have enough of what they're offering to supply the demand. So that needs to be looked at also.
Thank you. Do we have time for any more callers? Do we have any other callers?
Yes. Hello.
Yes, hello. Your question,
hi.
please.
Yeah, I have a question. Does the local station board and WBAI programming reflect the diversity of New York City, which is now majority people of color and indigenous people? And also, number two, do you support anti-racist training for the local station board?
Thank you for your question. We're going to start this time with Geoff.
Thank you. I think the first part of that question, I don't have data to back this up. My experience as a listener is that WBAI has lagged somewhat in keeping up with the cultural, social diversity of our listening audience. I think we certainly could do better at that. And of course, I advocate for more communication with more of our listening range, our radius, frankly. Not just the 5 boroughs, but frankly, the entire 80-something miles that we broadcast to. The secondary part, I certainly believe that we should do more to, I'm forgetting what the last part of the question.
Thank you, Geoff. Thank you, Geoff. Let's move on to Hazel.
Okay, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Oh my, I didn't write it down. This was from a caller. Something about diversity training. Diversity training, I believe, and racial sensitivity.
Yeah, of course I would support that. I'm on the Committee of Inclusion, and that's our job to bring in people from different ethnic backgrounds and racial backgrounds. We welcome members' comments. Please write to us with your thoughts. Justiceandunity.org. You can go to WBAI.org and leave a comment. You can contact Linda Perry Barr or Bertold Reimers, that's the station manager and the program director, and let them know how you feel.
Thank you. Kay, you're next with a response.
Well, I'm just now finishing up a program called the Dharma of Anti-Racism. It was a 20-something week study group, and I recommend it for everyone, whether you're listener, producer, staff, local board, whoever. And I always support diversity. I think there always needs to be more, as long as someone doesn't tell me they're a Trumper or they want to sell BAI. I support diversity.
Okay, Nick, you're last for this listener question.
Yeah, certainly. The board could do a better job diverse, but it could always be more diverse. And I think, you know, part of that diversity is really listening to people's concerns about programming and issues on the station.
Right. I'm told, thank you. I am told that we have time for one more caller. So caller, please ask your question.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. In your opinion, well, the candidates, in their opinion, what can be done about offsetting the constant Pacifica actions or suits that keep coming up every year or every other year? And since they're drawing on our funds, what do you think could be done to offset that constant barrage of attacks on our fundings?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. We're going to start this time with Hazel.
Okay, I think we need to bring management, the paid and unpaid staff, along with our listener members, and plan for the future of WBAI, so we can, you know, tackle our financial problems. We can diversify our funds. You know, there's so much that we can do, but we need participation from all the parties involved.
Thank you. Kay, you can respond to this listener.
I agree with Hazel. I think we need the involvement of all the parties involved with WBAI. If we strengthen WBAI in the ways that we've all been talking about, I think we can maybe resist some of these attacks. I think we need to approach whoever is behind the attacks and figure that out and see if there's any other way to deter them from making these attacks.
Thank you. Nick will be next.
Yeah, I think three things really important: independence, local control, and strong programming are what can fight against these kinds of attacks on the station. And you know, in the last bylaws vote, the producers were really important in getting around that and stopping that from happening. And so, you know, the community of listeners and producers and board members coming together as a strong bloc against that kind of privatization is really what's going to save.
Thank you. Next and last, we'll hear from Nick. Pardon me, Geoff. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Geoff.
Yes, I believe any attacks on the station are essentially attacks on democratic process. I think the fact is that WBAI stands alone as a media platform that stands for self-determined voices. So obviously, we're going to sustain these kind of offensive, whether they are in technology, in politics, and in economics. I think, frankly, the best defense on our part is, frankly, a strong offense. We need to represent our voices, just voices of justice, voices of solidarity, and I think that's where we need to go.
Thank you. Thank you all. Now it is the time for the closing statements. And again, I have a random order here that I've been given. Each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. And Geoff, you're up first.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Kate, and the electoral supervisorial team for the opportunity to do this. I think I'd like to close out really by reaffirming that our Justice and Unity slate will always be consistent with the work that many of our activists and producer candidates have always been consistent with representing. We represent service to our communities, service to our listener audience, service to humanity, frankly. And I think that can be proven in many of our individual stories. You can find our stories on justiceunity.org. That's justiceunity, one word, .org. And you'll find all our candidates there. If I could backtrack one moment to answer a question I flawed on 2 or 3 questions ago, I certainly support anti-racist training. I would assert any aspect of non-white, non-Euro, ethnic, or anti-colonial voices that come from self-determined voices of peoples, of all peoples. And I think that's where, if you vote for us on Justice Unity slate, and for the LSB, you'll find our best work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nick, you're up next. You have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for making this happen and everyone else listening out there and participating in this. And I hope that you consider me. I just want to reiterate in closing here that I believe in the importance of WBAI's mission and its position, not just in New York, but in progressive radio broadcasting in general. And if I'm on the board, I will work to secure not just WBAI's financial future, but secure its place in the community with quality programming, which reflects its listenership, which I think is so crucial for us, is to really get the voices of the community into this and build a strong community base and get more and to make the station more independent. And I'll as well support the paid and unpaid staff of the station as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next, Kay, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Well, I know that people wear several hats sometimes. I'm proud to support the Indie or Independent Caucus because I think we wear one hat, which is WBAI. And that doesn't mean we can't work together with people who wear more hats, but that's the caucus that is the most loyal to actually preserving BAI as BAI. And I think we need to focus on that, and that's important to me. And I do appreciate hearing from all the candidates. I think some really great ideas have come forth. I hope so. I haven't been able to take notes, but I will review the content. And I think that we do need to utilize our creativity to get this ball rolling. That's about it.
Thank you. And last, we will hear from Hazel. You have 1 minute, Hazel, to make your closing statement.
Okay, this is Hazel Pinder again. I'm running because I believe that a strong BAI is essential in society today. There's so much misinformation that's being put out in the media today, but you can always count on BAI to give you the truth. I've been a dedicated listener, supporter, and member for over 35 years. And I value freedom of expression and the exchange of ideas. And I pledge that I will do all I can to preserve the survival of BAI. And with your support, I can continue to fight the good fight and enable this station to thrive and grow for another 61 years. I'm with the Justice and Unity slate, and please consider my candidacy. Thank you very much. And please help us save this station.
Thank you all. Thank you all. And thank you, listeners, for listening to WBAI's debate series for the 2021 Local Board Delegate Elections. Again, I am Kate Doran, and I am the election specialist for the League of Women Voters of the City of New York. We were joined during this segment by Geoff Munroe, Nicodemus Nicoludis, Kay Williams, and Hazel Pinder. Visit elections.pacifica.org for all questions and to file a ballot request. Make sure to cast your ballot before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, October 15th, 2021. And be ready in the next segment, listeners, for your question, to call in your questions. That number is 212-209-2877. Thank you very, very much.